Good evening, America. First, let us apologize for this interruption. We do, like many of you, appreciate the comforts of a nice home and the familiarity and the tranquility of a simple life. We enjoy them as much as anyone. But, in the spirit of the bloody struggle that secured our rights and freedom, we thought we could mark this election, an event that has sadly become a bad joke, by taking some time out to sit down and have a little chat. There are of course those who do not want us to draw your attention away from the lies they have been telling you. We suspect even now, commands are being shouted into cell phones, and soldiers and drones armed with guns and rockets will soon be on their way in a vain attempt to find us. Why? Because while regardless of what weapons they try to use to silence us, we will always stand up to a government that is silently trying to strip us of our rights. Words are all we have to offer for those who will listen to the truth. And, the truth is, there is something terribly wrong with this country, is there not? Racism, cruelty and injustice, intolerance and oppression, and where once you had the freedom to object, to speak, think, and believe as you saw fit, you now have systems of surveillance and censorship in the form of humiliation and discreditation through various forms of media coercing your conformity, and soliciting your compliance. How did this happen? Who's to blame? Well, certainly there are those in the halls of power more responsible than others, and they will be held answerable to the people, but if the truth be told, if you're looking for the guilty, you need only look in your bathroom mirror. We know why you surrendered your rights, you were afraid. Who wouldn't be? War on terror, disease, climate change, economic stresses, and multitude of other issues. There are a myriad of problems which conspired to corrupt your reason and rob you of your common sense. Fear got the best of you, and in your panic you turned to the government for help. They promised you protection, they promised you order, they promised you peace, and all they demanded in return was your silent consent. Tonight, we seek to end the silence to remind this country of what it has lost. Our hope is to remind the country that fairness, justice, and freedom are more than words, they are the lifeblood of who we are. So, if you have turned a blind eye, if the crimes and corruption of this government remain unknown to you, then I would suggest you continue sitting on your ass watching reality TV, oblivious to the problems in the world around you. But, now is the time we could use a little anarchy. So if you see what we see, if you feel as we feel, and if you seek what we seek, then we ask you to stand with us to take back our government from the hands of corrupt officials, professional politicians, corporations and billionaires who have grown fat off our labor while hiding behind the laws and regulations that help keep the rich, rich, and the poor, poor, sometimes at the taxpayer's expense. And that is what makes them the real power behind our corrupt system of government. It is time to demand of the free press to start reporting the news, and stop sensationalizing it. It is time to stop living in fear of the unknown, and it is time to hold the news media accountable for being a part of perpetuating that fear. We need to stop saying we want to be energy independent, and become energy independent. Imagine what the millions and billions of dollars of campaign funds would do for the homeless rather than using it to auction off the rental of the White House for the next 4 years. It is time to rediscover that the American dream was never about how much money you make, or how big your home is, or how many cars and other things you own. It is about what we can become as individuals, as families, as communities, and as a nation. We don't have to settle for the lesser of two evils during an election. We should have the option to reject all the candidates and put forth new names of our choosing, if we desire. Every American should be able to present their name before the country as a candidate for president without the undue restrictions that prevent the poorest among us from running for public office. How can any billionaire or millionaire represent the will of the people if they don't truly understand the plight of the average American? The ruling elite seek to strip us of our rights little by little. They tell you that we have an illegal immigration problem, it's online and all over the TV, so it must be true. They now require you to prove you have a right to work in this country. Soon you may have to carry a passport, or a birth certificate, or some other form of identification of their choosing at all times in order to vote, access medical services, own a gun, which is not an entirely a bad thing unless you don't have some authorized form of ID, but just wait until the police can stop you and demand to see your papers. Only then will you begin to realize that the elite ruling class created both real and non-existent problems in order to create a state of fear in order to control and strip away the rights of the less privileged in this country. Those who will not comply with the demands of an oppressive government will find themselves demoted to the status of second-class citizens, unable to vote, find gainful employment, own real property, and quite possibly be imprisoned in a state-sponsored, privately run prison system. It is a short distance from there to religious persecution of all of those who are not Christian. They continue to create monsters, real and imagined, to keep us living in fear. The lie we are being fed about Islam isn't about terrorism, it is about creating a new monster to perpetuate the cycles of war and fear. How many rights and how much freedom will you surrender for government-sponsored protection so you can sleep soundly tonight? And, you can be sure they will not stop there. When a long train of abuses evinces a design to reduce us under absolute despotism, it is our right, it is our duty, to throw off such government, and to provide new guards for our future security. It is time for a little anarchy. It is time to stand up and say enough is enough. It is time to pick someone who will stand for the people, from among the people. It is time to find an average American outside the system of government who is burdened by the same struggles we all face and has spent their life just trying to keep a roof over their head like the rest of us. It is time to find someone who cannot be bought or bribed and will not compromise the core of who they are under any circumstance. We are the new American Revolution freedom fighters, and in the coming general election we will put forth one name as a write-in candidate for President of the United States of America. It is time for a little anarchy. Won't you come stand with us on Election Day, November 8, 2016, and we will give them an election day they will never ever forget. We should not be afraid of our government. The government should be afraid of we the people.